Oh, ah, it is way too hot. Oh, jeez. And we're back from all that moving around and stuff back home. And today I want to talk a little bit about a manga that I have been currently reading. Black Clover. Yes. If you've heard about Black Clover, it's kind of like the new kid on the block, you know, with like Shonen Jump. I mean, well, actually, I think it's been around for like a year now, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, I just started getting into it. I was bored, and I was like, you know what? I'll give Black Clover a try. And Black Clover is very shonen. It's very kind of tropey and has a lot of archetypes. A lot of people been kind of giving Black Clover a lot of, I think, deserved criticism for how safe, I guess, the story plays and how it kind of sticks to those tropes and ideas. But I kind of want to talk about some things with Black Clover that I found that I felt were kind of different and kind of deviated from what I am used to seeing. So, let's do it. Boy. That was really bad. That was dumb. I apologize. Boy. So the first thing that Black Clover does is, I think that the rival relationship is very well done. You have two characters, Asta and Yuno, who have known each other since they're kids. They're raised together. They are raised up together at this church in this poor area, and they both have this dream to be the Wizard King, which, you know, you gotta have a goal. You got a Hokage, King of the Pirates, strongest in the universe. You know, you gotta have something to go after. So what I really like about this relationship, though, is that you can tell that these two characters actually care about each other. Like, they legitimately care about each other. Like, they act like two people who have raised together and been raised up together and were born together. So there is that, like, I want to do this thing before you, but it's not in like a spiteful or mean way. You know, they still want the other to succeed, but they just want to, you know, I kind of explain it like a workplace rivalry. You know, there's a new promotion and you've got your best friend and you're like, hey man, you deserve that promotion. You truly 100%, man, I love you, you deserve that promotion. But not before me. You know? And that's kind of like, it's a fun rivalry. It's like they care about each other and they really want the other to do well, but not as well as the other. So that's what I like about the rivalry, at least between the two characters, is that they actually seem like they care about each other. While other shonen, sometimes the rivalry is like, I don't, it just doesn't have as many layers. It's just like, I don't like you. Well, I don't like you either, dickbag, or, you know, or it's two people who are supposed to be friendly, but they argue, like, constantly, incessantly argue the entire time. And it's like, you don't see them outside of the rivalry. So you're like, I don't know if you guys are actually friends. I really don't, like, if I thought about this, like, in real life, you two would hate each other. You two would not be friends. But these two people do see, Asta and Yuno do feel like brothers. They do feel like that they've raised together and that they've grown together. So that's one thing I really enjoy about this. And the second thing is the fights, oddly enough. Now this shonen does kind of fall into the people throwing giant shit at each other, like Dragon Ball. I love Dragon Ball Z. I love a lot of stuff. I'm not a fan of just like, let's just throw beams and lasers and stuff at each other. However, this is a world where magic is the main tool. It's a world all around magic, and people have grimoires. So they have grimoires, which are their spell books, and they cast spells at each other. The interesting thing I would say about how the fights go in this show is that in most anime, or a lot of comic books and TV shows in general, the good guys are trying to work around whatever the villain's shtick is. So it's like, oh god, he has the power to stop time 2 seconds at a time. How are we going to beat him? While Asta, our main character in this series, has a sword that basically lets him negate magic. He slices a spell or anything that's magically imbued, and the magic's gone. So the villains in this show are having to work around him. Because basically, like, a villain attacks, he does his whole sword thing, and they go, oh shit, his sword negates magic. How do we fight that? And so I think that's a very interesting, because usually it's the heroes working around whatever the villain does. And so in this show, all of the fights are centered around, all right, this is his power. How do we get around this insanely OP idea of, being able to negate magic, which is our only way of fighting and defense. So it's very interesting. It's actually kind of like, I don't know, a little different. It's a very archetypal show. You have Asta, who is the loudmouth, obnoxious guy who never gives up, who's hard-headed and stubborn. You have who's the cool, calm, collected guy who's got a natural acumen for magic and everything. What I do enjoy is that this is what I consider popcorn shonen. It's not, the stakes aren't super high. I mean, there are high stakes for the world, but like, it's not something that I'm like 100% super invested in, so I'm not like worried chapter to chapter. I can sit down, start reading it, and I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm having a good time. Some of the, I don't care for some of the characters' little quirks. And I don't care for like some of the female characters and just how they're portrayed. Just the typical, like, everyone seems to be in love with the main character thing. Just kind of like I get it. It's a genre that's aimed towards younger boys, but still, it's just frustrating. It's like, come on, like 2/3 of the female characters that are introduced seem to have some sort of crush on the main character. So that's a little frustrating, but it's just popcorn shonen. I can just sit there and bust out a couple, and the pacing helps a lot with that. The pacing is amazing. It really only takes like 3 to 4 chapters for, maybe 3 chapters for an arc to finish, and then bam, you're on to the next one. So it's like, right when you want to be done with an arc, you usually are done. It's like, okay, oh, and we're done, good. And it invigorates you to keep going. It's not something where I feel like it's too much, or I feel like I'm in a certain place for too long. It goes at a great pace where I'm just like, all right, bam, 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 let's go, let's keep rolling. Let's keep this train rolling all night long. Train kept on rolling all night long. Anyway, so yeah, those are my thoughts on Black Clover. I'm actually really enjoying it, as much as it does kind of rely on some tropes and archetypes of shonen. I do believe it does do some things that make it stand out just enough for me to really get into it and really start enjoying it. And Asta is a buff boy. He is a buff little boy, and that's actually one of my favorite parts of the show, or the book, whatever, when people like see, they're like, look at his body, look at it, because he's just so buff. He's just a buff little boy because he can't do magic, so he just works out, And anyway, those are my thoughts on Black Clover. If you have any thoughts on Black Clover, if you're interested in it, or you just don't care about Black Clover, I mean, why not? Just do a little posty post down there, do a little likey like, do a little subscribe, do a little share, all that stuff. None of those words probably made you want to do any of that. Yeah. Either way, I'll see you later.